Oh, all right, everybody. Welcome to my presentation for Leadership for Courage in Calling. It is the final presentation for this course, and I'm very excited to present on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. A quick note before beginning this presentation. This is my final presentation as an undergrad student at the University of Northwestern St. Paul. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to all my classmates, all my professors, all the faculty at Northwestern for pouring into me the last 4 years. It's been a blur, and I've had a lot of time to reflect and to think and to just really bask in the excitement of a new career and a new journey in life, but also to realize that these 4 years have helped shape me more than any years I can think of. So before this presentation begins, thank you, Northwestern. Thank you for pouring into me and helping me become the man of God I am today. All right, getting that out of the way now, we're going to begin my presentation on DEI in the workplace. A quick definition of what DEI is. It's defined as diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we will move on to the next slide to kind of talk about this more and to get more in depth on a couple different factors in this program here. If I can get across, that is. So what is DEI? Here's a bigger definition of DEI. It is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a concept and a strategy employed by different organizations and businesses to help bridge the gap between majority and minority people groups. This is to create a work environment where all people feel welcomed and represented. As we segue into the next portion of this slide, DEI is an important concept to Christians, leaders, because we are called to love, Colossians 3:14. Loving people does not mean just accepting someone. It means giving them a platform, a say, and a voice. So here is the first chunk, the first of my two perspectives on DEI. I have two very different perspectives. I've got a DEI being good for business perspective and another perspective that says DEI is bad for business. I've got two competing ideas, and I think that the reason I have these two is so that I can kind of compare and contrast maybe where one is got some better grips than the other, maybe where one makes more sense. And also, if you really truly want to prove a point, if you truly want to say, hey, this is what I believe, this is what I think is good for business, you gotta have two separate sides of the equation. And so that's why I've included these two. My sources are going to be on the left side for each panel, each page on this presentation. In case you are interested in reading some of the sources that I have, that is where you can access them. Simply just copy, paste, or type that into your browser. The first being, DEI is good for business. This isn't about taking sides, but rather making the most of opportunities to enhance business and societal value. DEI raises the standards for everyone by improving innovation, performance, workplace experience across the board. Some key factors for DEI include attracting talent, reducing attrition, increasing motivation. So on these first two slides, real quick, I just wanted to make a very brief point. The core idea of DEI is not to include certain people groups and to exclude. It's actually to be fostering an environment where every single person feels valued, they feel like they bring talent to the table, they feel motivated. So really it's everyone has different ideas, everyone comes from different backgrounds. Let's use that to our advantage. In my third little box here, it says companies with above average diversity on their management teams also report innovation revenue 19 percentage points higher than companies with below average leadership diversity. I pulled this from the LinkedIn source that I have tab on the left here. Essentially, it's a very interesting metric that it's about 19% of these companies that have above average diversity seem to be doing better. Maybe it's because of the different points, different ideas that are being brought up. I think that's a huge part of a company's success. Last point on this that I think is the most important part of DEI is we need to get back to viewing humanity as a collective. A joint effort of people lining up to make change in the world with diversity playing the role that brings us all together. I think that humanity is one sphere. It's one group of people. So the human race is one race. However, the human race is made up of a variety of different cultures, backgrounds, people groups. I think that when you want to better the human race, when you want to really include everyone, you want to really bring everyone together to accomplish something, there has to be steps taken to play within that entire bubble, to play within that entire collective, meaning that there's different players, different viewpoints, different ideas, ideologies, backgrounds, all these things that come together to play and to help make business good and to help bring DEI together. So obviously there's good, there's a little bit of bad. I'm not going to tell what side I'm on quite yet, but I'm going to kind of use this, pardon me, this next part of this slide here to kind of go through it. There are those on the other side of the spectrum that view DEI as harmful and counterproductive. Some people see DEI as a wasted opportunity that focuses on intimidating white people and singling out those who are Caucasian in the workplace. So on these first two blocks here, real quick, I want to say that DEI and pushing it to a point where you're excluding a people group, right? Let's say you're excluding the whites, or you're excluding Caucasian people in the workplace, defeats the purpose of what true DEI actually is. Because people of European descent or white people are also included in that part of DEI. And I think it's important to realize that white people have a lot of different cultural backgrounds. They have a lot of different expressions of culture and diversity within that people group, and that it's not just something to do with skin color. It's something to do also with the representation that they bring as well. So if you are part of a program that pushes DEI as something that has nothing to do with people who have white skin or people who are Caucasian descent, I do think that's a red flag, because I do think that when we talk about DEI, it includes everybody, every race, every people group. The last part here is DEI is unfair and causes overqualified white people to miss out on opportunities, while underqualified people of color get jobs and opportunities. I think that this can happen, but I also think that on the flip side, there's a lot of underqualified white people and a lot of overqualified people of color that just don't get the opportunities in today's business world. So I think that there's a fine line to tippy-toe here, where each candidate needs to be viewed subjectively. They need to be viewed for what they bring to the table. And a lot of times when we look at, okay, who's our best candidates, we find that for our workforce, the best candidates are going to be the people who bring diverse opinions, bring different backgrounds, bring different parts of this equation together. So that's kind of where we can separate ourselves from that, what if there's a white person who's more overqualified, or what if there's an Indian person who's less, or whatever. We can kind of separate that and start to build on that, where we're looking at the key factors of who the person is, what they bring to the table. And oftentimes a good workplace is going to just kind of be very diverse by default, because a lot of people are bringing in different ideas. So there's got to be a biblical basis. This is completely based on what I believe are biblical principles, and I've listed these 4 biblical principles. Our big Bible verse is Colossians 3:14, which is talking about being called to love everyone and to treat everybody fairly. I believe that that is a big part of what DEI is and how we can actually implement that into our systems as leaders and businessmen. So here's Colossians 3:14. It says, "And above all these put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony." So really we have to love for everyone to be bound together perfectly and to make this whole thing work. There are ungodly practices, both for and against DEI in workplaces. Both sides are stained with sin, and every single person is stained with sin. That's something that we can all unite under, is the fact that we are all sinful human beings. As Christian leaders, we are called to act fairly, to love well, and to honor God in our business practices. And at the end of the day, humanity and the differences in people are something that God created and something we need to glean from and accept as big parts of our lives. So I believe that DEI is a valuable tool to create inclusion, to allow people from all places, tongues, and walks of life to have a voice in the business world. I believe that God created us with differences for a reason, to remind us of his ability to create and buy things together. Even though we may be different racially or culturally, God has created us in his image, and therefore we all share that common bond together. I also believe that DEI is important for companies and businesses. I believe that looking for diverse perspectives is crucial to seeing organizations and businesses flourish. Here are the links to my sources. And thank you. As I said before, thank you for 4 great years at the University of Northwestern St. Paul. I appreciate it, and I'm hoping that everyone has a great day. Thank you very much for being a part of my slideshow today. Have a great one.